Okay, let's jump right into today's deep dive. We're digging into the consumer information and marketing claims around the Respirex choking emergency device.
Hmm.
Our mission here is really to cut through all the presentation and just extract what's going on with transparency and, the scientific context.
And right up front, we have to say this. It's so important. This discussion is purely educational. It's commentary on marketing information.
Right.
It is absolutely not medical advice. Nothing we say should replace guidance from a professional or, of course, standard emergency protocols.
Understood, a crucial point. So let's unpack this. What exactly is Respirex?
Well, it's a device aimed squarely at those terrifying choking emergencies.
Okay.
It uses a suction mechanism.
Mm.
The idea is to dislodge an airway obstruction when, maybe standard techniques like the Heimlich maneuver haven't worked or aren't possible to perform.
Got it. Now, the marketing, it's slick, isn't it?
Oh, very.
The website emphasizes simplicity, speed, how easy it is to use. It really positions it as this tool that, anyone, a parent, a caregiver can use.
Even with no medical training, that's the key pitch.
Exactly. They're not just selling a device, they're selling peace of mind.
And this is where it gets really fascinating, how they support those claims. The presentation is impeccable. Polished images, bundles for the home, the car.
Everything you need to feel prepared.
But when you look closely at the source material, the analysis points out a pretty crucial transparency gap.
A transparency gap. What do you mean the whole thing looks so professional?
It does, and that implies trust. But it doesn't necessarily mean there's verified third-party efficacy.
Ah.
And here's the really interesting part. The source material notes the site doesn't clearly show independent certifications or regulatory approvals right on the main page.
So nothing like an FDA clearance number or something similar.
Exactly. For a device making these kinds of life or death claims in the U.S., you would typically expect to see a specific clearance, maybe as a Class 2 medical device, featured prominently.
So instead of that, they're prioritizing consumer testimonials and what they call mentions of professional approval.
That's it. They're leaning on relatable user stories, that powerful emotional appeal, instead of putting the clinical validation front and center.
Which is a really effective marketing strategy, I imagine, especially when you're dealing with fear.
It absolutely is.
Mm.
It shifts the burden of proof. Testimonials are incredibly powerful, but they aren't a substitute for hard data showing, how effective the device actually is across different scenarios and different kinds of people.
So at the end of the day, what does this all mean for you, the consumer, if you're thinking about buying one of these?
Well, the lack of immediate, clear validation means you really have to do your own homework.
Greater diligence is necessary.
Yes. You're essentially being asked to trust the product based on its presentation and on anecdotes. That means you need to go off-site and proactively search for the scientific context and any official endorsements yourself.
Which really leads to a bigger question, doesn't it?
It does. It raises this important question for all of us to think about. In any category that promises immediate safety or relief, how much of our trust is built on that polished presentation versus verifiable, independent validation?
That's a great point.
It's a fundamental distinction we have to grasp when we're navigating these kinds of claims.
Precisely. The core insight here is that polish and convenience are incredibly compelling sales tools, especially when panic is a factor. But they can never really be a substitute for clear, verifiable scientific evidence backing up life-saving claims. You really need to know what you're buying, and maybe more importantly, why you are trusting it.